core values start with a small builder. And if we can give you products that help you reduce construction time and put more of the control back in your own hands so you don't have to outsource to as many trades, so you can really control the quality. I know you guys are both wrapping your own houses, for instance. A lot of these products, the high risk areas of waterproofing and things like that, if we can give you tools and systems that, one, help you build faster, then give you better solutions, take total control, I think it's a good thing. That was where a lot of our focus was around finding products that are going to speed up the construction process. And now we're looking at how do we incorporate those into products that are just going to improve the build form constantly.
G'day guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Build Insight podcast. My name is Luke, I'll be your host today. I'm joined in the virtual studio by my co-host Dean. We have a very special guest today, Andrew Healey, aka Heels. Andrew, well, firstly we need to mention and thank Bowens for their support for Build Insight with our inaugural year this year. It has been an absolute pleasure to have their support on our mission in trying to build a better industry. Heels is leading the charge like no other in Australia, especially to have a major powerhouse like Bowens, industry-leading supplier since 1894, fourth generation family-owned and operated Australian business. Heels, it's finally great to get you on here, mate. It's been on the cards for a little bit. We had the pleasure of being invited over to the Bowens Expo a little bit earlier in the year. We were hoping to try and get you on there, but mate, you had a very, very busy day that day we could see, and that was an absolute hit, that one. So, mate, firstly, welcome to the podcast. We'd love to have a little bit of an intro about yourself and your role in Bowens.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Thanks, Dean. It's I know we've spoken for a little while about getting on and chewing the fat a little bit about what's going on out there, but really excited to be here. It's fantastic. I suppose for a little bit of insights. I've been with Bowens now for 8 years, and as you mentioned, they are a family-owned business. We're in our 130th year this year, which is really exciting. So I've probably, what I'd gauge, I reckon I've got the best gig at Bowens. I run the product innovation department. I also have a team of business development managers as well. I suppose that 8-year journey came about after, I suppose, spending 9 years with one of the big multinationals in James Hardie. Did various roles within the James Hardie business, covering Vic Tas, and that was a very steep learning curve, I suppose, around product launching and those sorts of things. Prior to that, probably 3 years working in some regional mitre tins out in country Victoria, out in the Wimmera Mallee area. So as a timber and trade manager. So I've been in the industry now, I suppose, near on 20 years. But have really landed on my feet and loving what we're doing at Bowens at the moment.
Yeah, that's awesome, Heels. I think we've gotten to know each other really well, and along with Lukey the last 12 months, mate. And I think every time we have a phone call or we catch up, it's clear the passion that you have, and you elevate everyone else around you. And I think there's probably not been one time we haven't had a call where I haven't learnt something new. And I know you're on that constant search for knowledge and rethink building as Bowens are really pushing, mate. So I guess more so, how have you found yourself in pushing down such an innovative position with what you're doing with Bowens, and where did that strive from and come from, mate, to get you moving through what's been an exceptional 12, 18 months, especially for what Bowens are doing in the industry?
Yeah, look, it's been a journey. As I said, I think as my time came to an end at James Hardie and I was looking for a new challenge, I reached out to the team at Bowens, and I was pretty keen to get on board because I could see where they were heading as a business. But probably the one thing that was lacking was around having a specialist in the position of developing and launching products to the market. So I came on board to really be that conduit between our suppliers, our sales team, merchandising, marketing, and also the end user. So sort of sitting in amongst and trying to join the dots and really create a go-to-market. And I think at that time when I came on, we were pretty early on, and probably 5-6 years early. We were, for the market, we were doing some SIPS panels. We were importing SIPS from Romania under the banner of Ozone Panel, and we were really trying to push that forward. And that sort of led on to constantly looking for new ways and products and ways of doing things. And, we're really fortunate that our managing director, John Bowens, really passionate about innovation and invests heavily in it. Our expo is the Building and Innovation Expo. We really put the asset, I suppose, on our suppliers to keep us up to date with new and innovative products. But they're also invested in it. JB sent me off. There was a few of us who went off in 2019 to Vegas, and we went and toured the International Build Show. I went and checked out, caught up with SIPA, and went and had the SIPS organization in the US, and I went and had a look at manufacturing facilities. And I suppose it really all just stemmed from there. And it was a knock on. It really was. It was something that once we found one product, it led to another product. And I think there's quite a few products in our portfolio now that we do that all stem from what we were trying to do with the SIPS panels. As I said, I think we're a little bit early in it. We were doing a lot of owner builder stuff. Retired engineers who watch a lot of grand designs were the ones that we were tending to deal with. But a lot of the builders I know we spoke to in those early days are now in that field of doing SIPs. But it has been an evolution, definitely been an evolution.
Can we just touch on Hills actually just before we dive too much into the podcast? So Bowens, because obviously this is a national podcast, we've got builders hopefully all around the country, especially myself. Like I'm in South Australia, you guys are in Vic. Bowens is only a Victorian-based hardware chain, isn't it? Because until I'd actually started to associate with Dean, I never knew you guys even existed.
Yeah, look, we are family owned still, and we're 19 stores strong currently in Victoria. We do have a trust plant in Queensland, I'm not privy to all of the decisions, but I know that there has been discussions about whether there is expansions up the East Coast and those sorts of things. But we do reach out into other states through our online store. We do a lot of interstate deliveries, particularly in hardware lines, and we've got an exceptional e-commerce platform at bowens.com.au, and I know Dean's brother Darren uses a fair bit for what they do down in the city. Jumps online and orders goods and a lot of our Simpson strong tie screws and gets them delivered to site via our Uber delivery service and all those sorts of things. So look, where we head, who knows? But at the moment, we're really focused and passionate about being an independent hardware store in Victoria, and I think even in my time of trading or supplying Bowens and being inside Bowens, I think when I first started, there was 12 stores and we're now up to 19. And the stores that we do have are constantly getting upgraded. They're getting bigger. We're holding more stock, all those sorts of things. The family is very, very passionate about, remaining independent and providing the best possible service we can.
Well, I'll keep planting the seed, mate. It'd be fantastic to see a store pop up in Adelaide, that's for sure.
I'm not sure. We've got to see a bit more activity over in Adelaide, Lukey, I think. But my passion from Adelaide. I'm an Adelaide boy, and it's I'd be probably the first to put up my hand if they wanted to go back into SA. I said, look, I'll go back there and run it. Wouldn't mind getting back there, but yeah.
He was just on the Bowens family too. So from our discussions and my understanding, so as each generations come into the business and, so to speak, take the reins, they've really worked their way through the business, from being involved with the timber yard and store activity. It's not a matter of just, here's the keys, go and run a big business. So it really is that family owned and operated vibe and the way they operate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and it sort of stems right from the top at the moment with Jack and David, the two owners. Jack's the chairman of our board, and his son John, his eldest son John's our MD, and John would have come through the business as well, doing lots of different roles. And Andy is back in the business, running our e-commerce and marketing and those sorts of things as well, and brings a whole new level of skill set to that space. And I think even one or two of John's boys are doing a little bit of casual work from time to time. They're a couple of days a week in at our stores, in the timber yard, pulling orders, loading trucks, putting sticks on utes, those sorts of things. And it's really important that you have that grassroots sort of standing. And even, you've met a lot of the boys like my boss Luke and Jono and Stewie and these sorts of guys, and Ron. A lot of these guys who are the general manager and head of sales and all those sorts of things, merchandising, these guys are 30, 40 year employees at Bowens. They've all started in the yard and they've worked their way up. And, Ron Pete, 40 years, I think he clipped over this year. He's our general manager. And I think when I first started trading with Bowens as a supplier calling on our Roval store, he was the branch manager in there. And it was a rundown old store and all the rest of it. And then it became one of our flagships. But you'll find long-termers is something that our business is very, very passionate about in keeping our employees moving through the business. And it really ensures that whoever's in the decision-making processes, they understand the process of what the decisions they're making and how it impacts at branch level. I think that's really important.
I think the culture that's been created within the Bowens family, mate, it is actually phenomenal to get that many people that are sticking around for so long. There was one, actually, Hills, you were telling me when we were over for the Expo, is there someone that's been around for 60 odd years? Yeah,
Jeff Harvey. Jeff Harvey's, I'm not sure the exact amount of years that Jeff's up to. It could be 64 years now employed at Bowens. Look, the information, knowledge that Jeff's forgotten about timber, you and I will never ever learn in our lifetime, I'm sure. He is an absolute guru on all things timber. He's very, very passionate about it. He sort of acts in a very much a consulting role for us nowadays, and education and training within our own network. Got a great reach, to specialist mills, all sorts of things. But Jeff's a gun. He's one of his sons also works in the timber trust side of the business, and he's been probably with the business for 20, 30 years himself. But I think when Jeff first started, or not first started, but one of the stores that he opened, we've just done a massive redevelopment on it at our Hastings store, and it's been there for 50 plus years. And Jeff opened that store for us, and to put it into some perspective, they were milling flitch of Oregon flitch back in those days. They were bringing the logs in and milling it out of our store. That's how old Jeff is, and I'm sure you'll love me saying that.
Mate, this is actually a good little moment to maybe prevent my account from being blocked. I got a call from a certain rep yesterday, Heels, Damo, who's people, if you're dealing with Bowens in Victoria, know Damo's a really passionate, bloody good fella. So
he's a belter. Yep.
Yeah, and so Bowens have really taken a step up this year, and the seriousness of how invested you are to up the level of what Bowens can provide their builders and all clients, and that is more of the high performance, healthy home, better building practices, and these supplies and materials that are becoming available. And to the point, you've actually just had Damo and I think it's Alan, isn't it, that's doing the Passive House tradesperson course with Mr. Luke Callery himself at the moment too.
To join them in the course, actually.
Yeah, they're in the same course. Look for us, I think we spoke about it a little while ago, and when we first started catching up, and I know Damo did an incredible job. He could see the work that you were doing, Dino, and he wasn't going to let go of that. He wanted to be a part of it. He really felt he could add some value. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, probably took him 12, 18 months of just wearing you down, and he eventually got you, which he does. But look, Damo's another guy with incredible experience. He's over 15 years with Bowens. I think he ticked over this year. He's been a sales manager for us in multiple branches. And what we've done in recent times, I've built an incredible team of business development managers, and that's stemming from guys like Damo, Healy, even up to Adrian Wells. He's got 37 years experience within Bowens, and he's managed, I think, 7 of our branches over that journey. And he's actually running in the business development space at the moment. But certainly Damo and Healy, when we were looking at what was going on in the industry, we could really see this groundswell coming of builders just wanting to build better.
I need to jump in here for a minute, guys, to thank our sponsors, Backman Builders and Calorie Building. Without the support of these businesses, the Build Insight podcast wouldn't be possible. Take a moment to go and show some support for them so they can continue to support us, bringing you the Build Insight podcast.
That's where the whole Rethink building mantra comes from for Bowens and innovation. And we just want to challenge builders to build better and rethink their building practices and putting guys who are passionate about product and providing solutions to their builders. And Damo and Healy are probably the two of the best in the industry at that. To put them through and invest in them to get up to speed around passive house, really sort of, I suppose, putting them on a path and putting Bowens on a path of becoming that trusted advisor to the industry, so that we can align ourselves with the right suppliers, bring the right information. I know we've shifted some of your practices already, Dean, like you're a passive house builder yourself and you build 10-star homes and do an incredible job, but I know even some of the products we've put in your hands, it's already changed what you're doing as well. And that's the exciting part about it.
Definitely, mate. I think, we're only as good as each other, and I think that's such an exciting thing. If you're a builder out there and you're listening to this, no matter who your accounts with, I think that's what really pushed me to say, well, I can see what you're doing. I want to be a part of this, because we're only as good as our suppliers, our designers, our contractors, and I think the suppliers get forgotten a little bit. And when I say suppliers, like obviously a window company might be different because we deal with them on maybe a slightly different meaning. But a timber yard, for example, people go, I need a timber list here, you go fill the order. But yeah, the exciting part for us is that you guys are thinking about every little connection detail. And you talk about Darren before. I think, I've jokingly said, but serious, he'd probably be the first person to be a Simpsons ambassador, because he's just can't stop ordering the incredible gear that you guys have on range. So yeah, that's the most exciting part for Backman Builders, is where we feel our business is better for what's out there and how easy it is to obtain.
Yeah, look, the shift that's going on is really exciting, and we're learning exceptionally well from the likes of yourself as well, and a lot of the builders out there, like Heath and the boys at Sam I Am, and we're doing a lot with Jesse from G-Lux, and all of these sorts of builders who are all building in this space. The thing I love about what you guys are doing, it's exactly what we're doing today. It's your passion to spread the word, spread the gospel of just building better, and to be able to partner in with guys like you and jump on board and get content, but then also introduce some of the stuff that we're doing and products that we've got that we see that might help you build a little bit better. But then we see some of the stuff that you guys are doing, going, oh, hang on, there's a supplier that's a gap from what we're doing. We can learn from what you're doing. We can go and have a chat to those guys, get them on board as a supplier, and then take that out to more and more builders, and just let's create some change. We know that we've got to build better, and I think it was listening to a couple of your recent podcasts, as I do most mornings. There was that chat about, I think, Luke, you might have been talking to Dan from Airboss Dan. Obviously, we're partnered pretty heavily with ProClimate nowadays, and it was that commentary around, I build to code. Well, building to the National Construction Code is one step above illegal, and that's
it's the shittest house you can build before you go to jail.
Yeah, correct. And then I think on this most recent one, the second part of that podcast, I was listening, it was talking about apprentices and what he did as a master carpenter and how they train their apprentices. But we're training apprentices to build to a standard today that when they start their apprenticeship and they finish their apprenticeship, what they're being taught today in 3 years' time isn't going to meet the standard. So we need to be training them ahead of what the standard is. Future-proof what's going on in the industry. And we spend a lot of time with the apprentices. You would have seen that at the Expo. I think we had over 500 apprentices come through our Expo prior to opening that up to the builders. And a big part of that is, we've got to educate these kids. We really do. They've got to learn how to build better, take that information back to their boss and say, hey guys, we're not doing it right. Challenge their employers to be better. It's exciting.
I think, unfortunately, you've answered my next question already, Hills. I reckon it's a big no. I was going to ask, do you think that, as far as regarding Australian homes, are we moving fast enough to keep up with these changes in the rest of the world? I think definitely is a big no.
Look, it's coming fast. We've seen a lot of changes, but we can drag the chain a little bit, worrying about potentially looking at just the building costs of materials. When I started in this role, a big thing of some of the products I was looking to bring in, and certainly a lot of the products I continue to bring into our business, like Weedy and Dincel and these sorts of things. It's about how do we put products into the hands of the carpenter or the builder, and remembering that 70% of what we do as a business is dealing with builders like you guys, the small to medium-sized guys. That's at the very core of who we are as a business. Yes, we look after commercial, we look after volume builders and all the rest of it, but our absolute core values start with the small builder. And if we can give you products that help you, I suppose, reduce construction time, and put more of the control back in your own hands, so you don't have to outsource to as many trades, so you can really control the quality. I know you guys are both wrapping your own houses, for instance, but a lot of these products, the high risk areas of waterproofing and things like that, if we can give you tools and systems that one, help you build faster, but then give you better solutions, and take total control, I think it's a good thing. But that was where a lot of our focus was around, finding products that are going to speed up the construction process. And now we're looking at how do we incorporate those into products that are just going to improve the build form constantly. There's a lot to do, I think, as an industry. It's concerning though when you see what your state government has recently discussed around putting a stop to any NCC changes around sustainability or performance for 10 years. Surely that can't continue. Like, knowing how many blackouts you guys have over there in Adelaide during summer, it just seems absurd. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it is an absolute breath of fresh air to hear that there is actually a supplier like yourselves out there, mate, that are supporting the charge and providing those resources and materials for builders like us. So we do thank you a lot.
Yeah, and Hills, I don't want to skim too quickly over that. Our understanding and a lot of discussions we've had with yourself and the Bowens team. So this year you've had a series of NCC seminars that you've put on at stores and had hundreds and hundreds of builders, trades coming in the door, and you've been aiming at, a lot of the Rethink building has been aimed at, okay, what is the changes to the NCC? How can we as a supplier bring in, materials and building procedures that are going to assist our builders to make sure they're building better than what the standard is in now and in a few years. That's become such a powerful tool for us as the builder, because we can just get on the phone with our rep, our reps are going to be Passive House certified tradespeople, and even if someone's working at Bowens and they're not sure how to answer it, you're going to have people there who are upskilled to actually get involved. And I know you're teamed up this year with Performance Membranes, the guys, Devon and all the team, and you're putting on workshops on how to wrap using ProClimber, and from that statement point of view, you're just looking at a holistic picture on based on where the NCC is and where it's going, aren't you?
Yeah, look, definitely. One of the things that JB, John Bowens, into me all the time about is making sure that we're staying ahead of what's going on, and make sure that we're finding products and solutions to ensure that we can educate. Because you guys, like, I'm sure, also, and there's a consistent message I listen when you talk to a lot of the builders that you're interviewing on your podcast, and it's time. Time's one of the biggest things that you guys lack on a day-to-day basis. I know you've got young family yourself and all the rest of it. You're trying to give time to your family and all the other things, keep your team rolling and everything. When do you get time to educate yourselves? When do you find time to research products? So if we can do that heavy lifting for you and put a team out in place, and we constantly talk to our suppliers. We challenged every one of our suppliers again at our recent supplier awards last week to continue to bring new innovation to us. We then spend a lot of time researching those products. I do a lot of my own in-house testing. I have a series of builders that we like to go out who are very, very early adopters and like to do some R&D with us around these products, and we can really put them through our own rigorous testing sort of procedures, along with checking certification and code marking, all those sorts of things, to make sure that what we're bringing to market is fit for purpose. But we don't want to just stand still. You look at vapor permeable membranes. It's probably the easiest one to discuss, and tapes and so forth. And you mentioned there about Devon and the team, and Aaron and Jake and the guys. They're doing an incredible job, but that's the absolute top notch of membranes and all the rest of it. And we've got a whole host of other range of tapes and everything beyond just the Pro Climber offer. But it wasn't that long ago, I think it was NCC 2019, that the change was made to move to Class 4 vapor permeable. And then it was mandated, unless you don't have to do that if you're doing brick veneer, and you can pull that back and stick to your foils and all the rest of it. Thankfully, that's been closed up this year. But to give you an idea, 2019, when that NCC code change came in and was actually brought into place, we'd actually deranged foils from our business 12 months prior to the NCC 2019. So we were already 100% Class 4 vapor permeable membranes inside our business before the code change. So we want to make sure that and we ran a lot of seminars on condensation management and all those sorts of things through that period prior to the code change. So that when the code changed, our builders were already using the products. They were already educated on the products. They weren't scrambling to try to see what they had to do to stay up to pace. And that's right at the forefront of what we're doing when we're deciding around products and how we set up our team and educate, and the specialists that we put in place to educate the market.
Is that how the Expo came about, Hills? Let's maybe give a bit more insight on what the Expo is, to try and hopefully encourage. I mean, unfortunately, it's only happened this year. It's biannual from what I know. So they're going to have to wait a couple of years to go back again. But is it things like that have inspired the Expo to really encourage people to think outside the box a little bit, put those products in front of them, and then I guess how does it work? You got a massive role involved with the Expo, don't you?
Yeah, look, it is the Building and Innovation Expo, Bowens Building and Innovation Expo, and this year was at the second time that we'd hosted at the Royal Exhibition Building, and I think you were absolutely blown away, Luke, when you walked in.
I felt very out of depth, mate. It was incredible, an incredible space.
Just the building itself is phenomenal. It's an incredible timber building. But I think the exact numbers, I'm not sure. We had 150 plus suppliers there. We had over 5,000 through in the day. Very, very fortunate to have you guys, and it was to have you actually on stage with me in the Rethink building seminar space. But I suppose when it first started, I was actually a supplier to Bowens, and it was very similar. Like I was working with James Hardy, and we'd come in, take our stand, and you'd showcase your products and hand out brochures and stubby holders and hats and pencils and all the rest of it. It's gone way beyond that. And that's one of the things that we learned when we went to the IBS in Vegas in 2019. Will Keys, who is an absolute gun at what he does in our marketing department, he puts the Expo on. Will and I travelled together on that trip to the IBS, and we went and toured different lumber yards. We went to Gannell's Lumber all up the west coast. We met with different Meeks Lumber and all these sorts of guys. But a big part of it was going to one of the biggest build shows in the world and see what do they do differently? And the big thing that came across was education. It was seminars. It was having guest speakers, putting the right builders on stage that people want to come to. I remember, I think Kuba would put an announcement up over the loudspeaker at the IBS that Matt Reisinger was about to come and talk about the Zip Tech. And just thousands of builders swarmed their stage because they wanted to hear what Matt had to say. And I'm sure both of you probably followed Matt on his YouTube and that sort of stuff. But there was a real hunger for information, and that was one of the things that we took away from that. And you know, the Expo 2 years ago was the first time we ran seminars, which was the first Expo post going to the IBS after, because we had to postpone because of COVID. And then this year we took it to another level, I think. We had, you know, every time we ran one of those seminars, we had a couple hundred people sitting in there. We had you guys upstage talking about what you do. We had Airboss Dan, who I know you had on a couple of weeks ago. Airboss Dan was there with Devon and the team from Pro Climate talking about installs, alpine ventilation. We had the incredible team from Clickin and Thermotech Windows doing presentations on, you know, best window methods. And we even had Fantech, you know, the guys from discussing HRVs and all the rest of it. And whilst these guys were presenting, you were presenting, I'm just watching the people in the audience, and they were consumed. They really were. There's all the noise going on outside. The people were racing around having a couple of beers and enjoying themselves in the putting competition and wanting to see if they were going to win the Hilux and all the rest of it. Sorry you had to catch the plane home week and you didn't get to drive home. But the ones who were really, really interested in building better, they were the ones sitting in that room listening. And we've been absolutely hammered since Expo, which is exciting. Yeah, it tells us that we're on the right path.
Well, I can vouch for that myself, mate, because obviously we don't have a lot of that stuff here available in SA, and we don't have an innovative supplier like yourselves. I got so much out of that Expo myself. Like, I'm happy to put my hand up and say I've actually had an order from Fantech. We've sent over for one of our projects. I didn't know about Fantech until then. There was another new supplier, Bassrock. We're hoping to implement some Bassrock onto one of our projects early in the new year. There was things like the click-in system and the expanding foam tapes and things like that I don't know, this is going to go live. Damo might get in a bit of trouble here, but Damo might have snuck a couple of rolls into my bag to fly home.
That's all right. Yeah, I think.
All right, guys, that was the end of part one with Andrew Healey from Bowens. We've got some amazing things that we're talking about in part two, so make sure you tune in next Monday.
Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insight team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insight podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.